Hello and welcome to Wild Heart Yoga Holistic Healing. My name is Hannah Ray. I am the content creator and instructor of this class. Today I have for you a 45-minute yin yoga therapy class that's going to be working on grounding and helping release stored emotional energy from the body. So we're going to be going deep into the lower body today, holding poses for a longer period of time in order to move out some of that stuck energy from the body, help ground ourselves mentally and emotionally as well throughout this practice. So with the nature of this practice, there can sometimes be some discomfort, both physically and emotionally, both because we're going through those stuck areas in the body, as well as sometimes releasing those areas can bring up these emotions that have been stuck or repressed. And so if that happens for you, don't be surprised, but also focus on anchoring your awareness back to the body and back to your breath throughout this practice if that does occur. You can also take any breaks if you need to, pause the video, or modify any poses, of course. We first and foremost want you to feel safe and grounded as much as possible in this practice. For one pose, we will need a prop. I have a rolled yoga mat here, but you can also just use a rolled blanket or a rolled towel, something of the sort should work fine for that. You may also want some blocks or, again, a pillow or blanket, anything like that as well. So go ahead, take a moment to grab anything you think you might want to use today, and let's go ahead and get started with today's practice. All right, let's begin seated at the center of the mat today. We're just going to begin by taking a few mindful breaths, working on our Ujjayi breath, which is a breath I recommend using throughout this practice. So go ahead and take a comfortable seat. You can always place a little bit of a pillow or folded blanket under the hips to help you sit a little bit taller here. But however you can sit is fine. You don't have to be cross-legged as long as you're sitting with a spine tall and present. So go ahead and invite the eyelids to close, or maybe find a soft gaze with the eyes. Taking our first deep inhale through the nose today, if you can. As we lengthen through the spine. And let out a deep sigh, allowing those shoulder blades to fall down and back. Again, inhale, lengthening through the spine. And exhale, softening those shoulder blades down and back. One more inhale. And let out one more full sigh, emptying those lungs with that exhale. Allowing the breath to return to its natural pace. Begin to just take a moment to scan through the body, noticing anywhere that you're holding tension or discomfort today. Noticing anywhere you feel tense. Taking a moment to notice the state of your mind and emotions at the beginning of this practice today. Without judgment, simply observing if the mind is busy or calm. Noticing any impact that has on your current emotional reality. And then allow your attention to come back to the breath. Our breath is going to be our anchor through this practice today. And so for our Ujjayi breath, we do this technique where you inhale through the nose if that's possible for you. And then similarly to what we did with our exhale, with that sigh, we're just going to add a slight constriction in the back of the throat to make that ocean wave or Darth Vader-like sound. So it'll sound like this. Inhale through the nose. Exhale. I invite you to join me now, doing a few rounds of this Ujjayi breath. Inhale through the nose. Exhale with that slight constriction. And inhale. Exhaling completely. Continuing with your own pace. Each inhale, think about drawing that breath into that low belly space, our Dantian energy center that's between the belly button and the pubic bone. Exhaling completely with each exhale. Taking just a couple more rounds of this breath. Inhale. Let it go. One more time. Releasing the breath when you're ready. Allow it to return to its natural rhythm once more. And I encourage you or invite you to choose a mantra for our practice today, or an intention, and that could be something such as, I am safe and grounded in this moment. I let go of that which no longer serves me. Where I am is exactly where I need to be. Or any other positive present tense statement you wish to choose. And just repeat that a few times mentally, planting that seed for transformation. And when you're ready, go ahead and release that. Take one more scan through the body. Once more, just observing whatever is present. And when you're ready, go ahead and invite those eyes to open. Okay, we are going to begin our first pose today. Sideways on the mat here. Go ahead and extend your legs out to the side. Now, they don't have to be as wide as mine, just as wide as they can go, where the knees and feet both stay facing upward here. Again, if you have trouble sitting with a flat lower back here and you feel really rounded, tight through the low back, feel free to sit on the edge of a pillow or a cushion just to give yourself a little tilt to help with keeping that low back straight there. So go ahead and take an inhale. As you exhale, begin to fold forward with that flat back first. So we're taking that bend from the hips as much as possible to begin. From here, take another inhale to lengthen. As you exhale, you can either begin to melt down toward the mat, or you can use your pillow or cushion or blanket, whatever you have available to you, and just rest onto that. Maybe you're even just going to be leaning onto the hands today. So again, this is not about forcing anything today, but about finding that edge, that place where you feel a deep and effective stretch happening, but where you're still able to soften into the pose, to maintain control over the breath. So, oftentimes when we feel resistance, it can be our natural tendency or when we feel discomfort, it can be our natural tendency to resist and to tighten up. to hold our breath. And that can be both with physical or emotional discomfort again. And so today your goal is to really just observe the discomfort when you feel it, to work on anchoring to that breath and continuing to breathe through it. So we're working on surrendering to discomfort so we can move through it with a little more ease rather than trying to fight it and resist it. So go ahead and begin to bring that attention back to the breath now, coming back to that ujjayi breath as we inhale through the nose, exhale, that constriction in the back of the throat, completely emptying the lungs with each exhale. Inhale into the low belly, dantian. Exhale completely. Continuing with your own breath now. Each exhale, thinking about softening a little bit deeper into the pose. So as you inhale, imagine drawing that breath into any areas of tension or stiffness. And with each exhale, imagine that tension is melting out of the body. Just a little bit longer in this pose. Continue to breathe with it. Take one more inhale. As you exhale, gently begin to roll your spine back up to a neutral position. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, gently roll the shoulder blades down and back. The next inhale, we're going to reach the right arm up toward the sky. As you exhale, begin to open as you fold to the left. So we're thinking about opening the chest up and out here, not folding forward over that leg. And here you can rest your elbow onto the leg or the mat, or again, you can use a prop to rest your arm onto if this is a little bit too deep for you today. So modify the pose however you need. You can also allow that hand to rest behind the base of the head here if it gets a little tiring having that arm extended. So go ahead and take whatever modifications or variations feel best for you. Taking any micro adjustments you need, moving just slightly to see how that changes the pose. And then find your stillness again once you have found your edge. Coming back to your breath again, inhaling deeply. Exhaling slowly and fully. Just observing whatever is present within the body in this moment. Noticing where that tension is. Inviting the breath there. We're over halfway on this side. Just noticing any thoughts or emotions that are coming up as we hold this pose. Just observing them with curiosity, not with judgment. And come back to the breath, back to the body. With your next exhale, gently go ahead and bring that chest back up, finding that neutral position again. So inhale as we lengthen through the spine. Exhale, roll those shoulder blades down and back. Good, let's inhale the left arm up this time. And same thing on the other side as we begin to bend to the right. Think about opening that chest up and out toward the sky or the ceiling. Maybe placing that hand at the base of the head. You can take any micro adjustments. Find your pose, find your edge, and come back to that stillness. Coming back to the breath. Not only is the breath a tool for us to help soften our muscles, to soften our body into the pose physically, but it's also an anchor for our awareness, to practice finding that meditative state of mind. And so a lot of times people tell me they have trouble meditating or can't because they don't know how to empty their minds. But in reality, having a meditative state of mind is not about having no thoughts at all, but simply being aware of thoughts as they enter. And instead of getting wrapped up in them, getting into imaginary conversations, so replaying scenarios from the past or hypothetical scenarios of the future, just noticing when those thoughts start to enter that lead to that, observing any things that may have led to those thoughts, and then focusing on returning your attention to the breath, choosing mindfully and with discipline to shift your focus back to the breath each time the mind wanders. And you may have to do this again and again and again, but over time, it's like lifting weights in the gym. You don't necessarily build muscle from doing it one time, but over time, that practice begins to build on itself. Take one more inhale here. As you exhale, return to center. Again, just returning to the breath for a moment. Take the inhale as we lengthen through the spine. Exhale, roll those shoulder blades down and back. Good. We're going to make our way to the back of the mat now. Extending the legs straight ahead here. Again, if you need, place a cushion or pillow under the sits bones. Gonna inhale, lengthen through the spine. As you exhale, begin to fold forward first to the flat back as much as you can. Take another inhale and lengthen once more. And as you exhale, beginning to allow the chest and head to melt toward the legs. You know, you can have the hands beneath the knees here, maybe even keeping a slight bend in the knees today. You can also reach for the feet and just hold on to them, but we want to keep the feet relaxed so that the hands are doing the work if you are holding on to the feet. And again, of course, you can always lay onto a pillow or a prop of some sort as well if this is a little too deep, or again, just lean into it. So find your edge today, find your pose, and then go ahead and find your breath once more. We're going to be here for 3 minutes. Inhale, inviting that breath into the back of the legs. Exhale completely, softening. So with this practice, we are not forcing ourselves into a pose ever, but we're allowing the weight of our bodies to simply take us a little deeper with each breath as we soften through the muscles. And as we begin to release through the muscles, we also begin to then allow space for the fascia, that thin layer of connective tissue that runs through the whole body, to begin to release as well. And the fascia is more plastic than elastic, meaning it doesn't stretch very quickly. It takes a long time, which is why we hold our poses for an extended period of time. But 80% of our nerve pathways also end in this fascia. So these are the message pathways, basically, between the brain and the body. And so when we have this undealt with emotions, or we have stored emotional energy from trauma or heightened stress or whatever it is that we don't deal with, and that can be, that big T trauma or the small T trauma, those that we all experience in some capacity in our life. So I encourage you not to judge whatever you're dealing with, to know that it's valid and that we all struggle with things and store emotions sometimes. But as we hold this pose, as we begin to breathe through the discomfort and begin to release the stored emotional energy, we're beginning to also release the fascia, which is part of why this is happening. We're releasing these areas that can become stuck from these incomplete messages being sent between the brain and the body, this undealt with emotions or undealt with things that we perceive or process. We've got just a little bit longer here. Inhale. Exhale completely. Take one more inhale. As you exhale, gently begin to roll your spine back up. Take your time as you find your way onto your back for our first short rebound of the day. Gently tucking those shoulder blades down and back. Opening the palms up towards the sky. Now, if there's any tension or discomfort in the low back, think about pulling that low back flat against the mat, or maybe even keeping the feet flat on the mat. Take a deep breath in. Exhale completely. Just taking a moment to feel the echo of those first poses. Noticing any changes of sensation in the body. Just observing the state of the mind and emotions. Our rebounds allow us a moment to reflect on our practice, to notice how it's affecting us physically, as well as mentally and emotionally, as well as allowing the time for our fascia to slowly rebound, because again, as it's slow to stretch, it's also slow to come back. So it's important to take these rebounds occasionally throughout this practice, especially if you're taking the spine or the hips in the opposite direction from the previous pose. When you're ready, go ahead and turn onto your left side and meet me seated for our next pose. Okay. We're actually going to come over onto our our knees, hands and knees here in our tabletop position. Start out by making sure those hips are aligned above the knees, shoulders above the wrists. From here, we're going to step our right foot forward first between the hands. Inhale as we lengthen through the spine. Think about tucking those hips under. So you're pressing those hips forward, getting a little more stretch through the quad here. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, begin to round through the chest, through the upper back, bringing the chin to the chest here. And again, still pressing those hips forward. So we're targeting this area through the front of the quad, the psoas. Finding a drishti point or a point of focus with your gaze if you're having trouble with the balance. Or maybe even doing this against a wall if you're inside for a little extra support. We're going to go through a series of lunges here to go a little deeper into the lower body. Take one more inhale. As you exhale, release those hands. We're just going to begin to shift that front foot a little bit further forward now, finding our way into our baby dragon. So again, keep those hips tucked under so we aren't arching through the back here to do this. But again, you're just gonna go as far forward as you can, and maybe that's not very deep for you today, that's okay. Go ahead and use some blocks or prop, dumbbells stood up, anything you have if you need a little extra support for your hands. Or you can bring the hands down to the mat, or again, a bolster or anything of the sort. So you're gonna come back to that breath, breathing deeply through the discomfort here. Many people store difficult emotions through the hip region in particular. So again, just observe whatever comes up for you today, whatever comes up as we're in these deep holds. And if the mind begins to wander, simply come back to the breath. Take a little scan through the body, just noticing if you can soften anywhere. Releasing tension to allow your body to rest into the pose. All right, we're going to place both hands on the inside of that front leg now. Again, you can always place the hands onto a stack of books or blocks or anything of the sort as well. Begin to just heel toe that front foot toward the outside edge of the mat, allowing the foot to roll toward the pinky toe edge and just pressing that knee away. Maybe taking a little rock here, maybe coming down to the elbows or resting onto a prop. And we're gonna stay in this lunge a little bit longer than those first two. So go ahead and find your pose, find your breath. Focusing on breathing through any discomfort here. These can be some really intense poses, but also a great opportunity to move through some of that discomfort, to move through some of that stuck energy. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely, letting go of anything that's not serving you in this moment. Any tension, any thoughts. You are safe and grounded in this moment. Continue to stay with your breath. Inhale. Exhale. Releasing that stuck energy, releasing those emotions. Take one more inhale. Exhale completely. Okay, then we're going to come back to the hands if you're not already there. You can either, I'm going to give you two options here, begin to just press that knee away with your right hand. Or option two is to take a full twist with that, reaching for that back foot, or you can use a strap or a towel as well. Or just stay in that first option with the knee, hand on the knee, taking that twist, looking over your shoulder, breathing into that quad, into the hip. Exhale, releasing, letting go of anything that's no longer serving you. Breathing in, exhale, letting go. One more inhale. And exhale, release. Good. Go ahead and step that front foot back. Here you can either just take a quick little child's pose or maybe press into a down dog for a moment. Just noticing the difference of sensation between the two sides and the backs of the legs here. And when you're ready, go ahead and meet me in tabletop again. We're just going to take it to the other side now. So beginning by stepping that left foot between the hands. Go ahead and tuck those hips under. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, beginning to round through the upper back, chin to the chest. So again, we're pressing those hips forward. That front ankle should be just below the knee here. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. Breathing in. Exhale, letting go. Think about keeping both of the hips square to the front of the mat here. So shifting that back hip, that right hip forward slightly, pulling that front hip back a little bit. The next exhale, go ahead and release. Begin just scooting that front foot forward. Again, we still want the knee roughly above the ankle here as well. Allow those hips to sink forward as far as you can. Again, don't worry if your lunge is not as deep as mine. This is about just meeting yourself where you're at, being where you're at today with acceptance. So find your pose. Again, take any little micro adjustments you need. And once you have found your edge, find your stillness, find your breath. Just noticing if this side feels any different than that first side did. Perhaps the tension or discomfort is in a different area. It may be more or less intense on this side. It's always good to take note of our imbalances throughout this practice. Take one more inhale. With your exhale, go ahead and heel toe that left foot to the outer edge of the mat, so both hands are the inside of the leg now. Again, take any little adjustments you need here, maybe moving side to side or up and down with the chest, allowing that foot to roll to the pinky toe edge. And again, find your stillness wherever that is for you today, maybe coming to the elbows, maybe staying on the hands, maybe coming all the way down to the mat. And be sure that you're still on the front of this right leg, that you aren't rolled over to the side. We want to keep the hips still square down toward the mat. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. And remember to breathe through the discomfort. Part of what we're doing with this practice when we learn to breathe through this discomfort, to sit with it, is that we're learning to increase our threshold for distress tolerance. So instead of instantly reacting or responding right away when we feel discomfort, learning to just notice it, to breathe through it, to ground in the midst of it. And we can do this again both with our physical practice as well as mentally and emotionally. Just noticing when an emotion arises, noticing how it's causing us to want to react. But instead of immediately responding, taking time to just be curious, to notice how our initial reaction aligns with our goals or values for ourselves. Over time, instilling more wisdom, both in our practice and our day-to-day life. All right, when you're ready, go ahead and come back to the hands if you're not already there. Again, we have two options here, either just pressing that knee away as we take a gentle twist, or reaching for that back leg, being sure that the hips aren't coming up here, that we're still sinking them low. So if you can't reach the foot doing that, either using a towel or a strap to help hold your foot closer, or just taking that first variation today. Again, we don't want to force anything. Notice where that tension is being held in your body in this moment. With your next inhale, invite that breath there. Exhale, releasing as we surrender a little deeper to the pose. Where you are is exactly where you need to be. Embrace this experience, whatever it is. Know you can always ground your attention, focus back to the breath. Anytime the mind becomes overwhelmed, go ahead and release that foot. If you've got that full variation, take your time as we step back into our tabletop. Again, maybe taking a short child's pose or a down dog, just pressing up with bent knees. Maybe keeping those knees bent, maybe walking them out here, whatever feels right for your body. Again, just observing any changes of sensation down the backs of those legs and the hips. And when you're ready, go ahead and come back down to the knees. We're going to find our way onto our back for another short rebound. So go ahead and gently tuck those shoulder blades down and back. Allow the palms to face up. Maybe inviting the eyes to close. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Let it go. And inhale. Your exhale, feeling yourself melt another centimeter into the surface beneath you. And scanning through the body, feeling the echo of the pose. When you're ready, go ahead and turn onto your left side once more. This next pose is where we're going to need a prop, so go ahead and grab a rolled towel or blanket or anything you have of the sort. I have this old foam yoga mat. Now this might actually be too tall of a prop for some of you, so if you have a rolled blanket or a pillow or a towel and it's too fat, you can always roll it back and just turn it so that you have a smaller prop there. So we're going to place it at the base of our hips, beginning to find our way onto our back. So you want to make sure that both your shoulders and your glutes can both stay grounded to the mat here. And if they can't, then you need to find something that's a little bit shorter or not quite as fat under the back. Here we're going to bring our knees together and just begin to walk them outwards. So the knees, the weight of the legs are just resting against each other here. And you can take that as wide as feels comfortable for you today or manageable. Here, I'd invite you to bring those arms up overhead, the palms facing up, just taking an opportunity to open through the chest and the shoulders. Coming back to your breath here. Feeling the weight of the body resting on the surface beneath you. Feeling grounded and held in this moment. Maybe inviting in some internal kindness in this moment. Giving yourself credit for bringing yourself to this practice today, for choosing to press play, for choosing to find this time in stillness, to be with yourself, to work on yourself, to know yourself deeper. Inhale deeply. Exhale, releasing anything that's no longer serving you. Let's take one more inhale here. Exhaling completely. When you're ready, go ahead and gently walk those feet closer together again. However is easiest for you, go ahead and remove your prop from under your back. And we're going to find our way to our final Shavasana now. Again, just gently tucking those shoulder blades down and back, allowing those arms to either lay at the sides or overhead with the palms facing up. Inviting the eyelids to close. Taking another deep inhale. Exhale, melting a little deeper into the mat. Breathing in, wave of relaxation up the body. Exhale, letting go as you sink a little deeper. Any residual tension melting away. Just observing the rise and fall of your breath. Observing the sensations occurring in the body. Softening even through those facial muscles, through the jaw, the feet and the ankles. Softening through the shoulders. Take one more deep inhale. Exhale completely. Beginning to bring some movement back into the fingers and the toes. Maybe rocking the head side to side. Take a stretch of the body any way that feels right for you. And then turn onto your right side this time. And meet me seated at the center of the mat for our final closing breath together. Maybe closing those eyes for a moment longer. Storing away in your memory your ability to tap into this place of inner peace, of stillness and grounding. Again, taking a moment to observe any changes in how you feel physically or emotionally or mentally at the end of this practice today. Inhale, reaching the arms up overhead. And exhale, hands to prayer at heart center. Just taking a moment to acknowledge yourself for showing up to honor the mind and body in this way today. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me for today's practice. If you enjoyed today's class, I highly encourage you to check out the Yin Yoga Therapy playlist on my channel, as I have many other classes there that revolve around mental health and releasing stored emotional energy from the body. If you did like today's class, please help me out by giving this video a thumbs up, as well as subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with more classes as they're released. You can also hit that bell icon if you want to be notified as soon as classes are put out so that you never miss anything. Thank you again for joining me. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I will see you soon. Namaste.